Chapter 1575. What happened here just now? Why are you in such a sorry state? Tanghua looked at Di Chunming and Yin Rue and asked. At the mention of this, Di Chunming's face darkened. Earlier, when we were lining up here, a few very scary people suddenly appeared and said that the seesaw field was theirs. If you want to sit on the seesaw, you have to pay 1,000 Rubik's Cube coins. Yin Xiaofei couldn't hide anything and spilled the beans. We didn't want my brother and brother Chunming to have a conflict with them. Yin Xiaofei's voice gradually became softer. We didn't win. Seeing that the sky was getting dark, each of us paid 2,000 Rubik's Cube coins to sit on the seesaw. Speaking of this, Yin Xiaofei was helpless and angry. The people here were strange and powerful. They didn't want to come to the seesaw. Only ordinary villains who had lived in the Rubik's Cube world for a long time would use this method to obtain Rubik's Cube coins. If we didn't get some Rubik's Cube coins in Happiness City, I don't know what to do today. Ying Xue was also worried. After all, they had to survive here for a month. Ying Xue hesitated for a moment and walked to Tanghua. Tanghua, if there's no other way, I want to borrow some Rubik's Cube coins from you. Is it convenient? Yes. Tanghua didn't refuse. How much do you want? I can lend you now. Ying Xue was relieved. Thank you so much. This way, at least we won't be chased out of the city. Yin Xiaofei and Yin Rue's expressions were also much more relaxed. Host, didn't you say that you don't care about them? Why do you want to borrow Rubik's Cube coins? I don't hate Ying Xue. Now that we're teammates, I have Rubik's Cube coins. Of course, I'll lend them to her. Ying Xue knows when to advance and when to retreat. Even though we're in the same team, she doesn't think that my Rubik's Cube coins are everyone's Rubik's Cube coins. She asked me politely to lend her Rubik's Cube coins. As for Yin Xiaofei, she's also a very innocent girl. Do you still remember when she bought the buns? She wanted to ask the old lady to buy a few more buns, including my share. I also don't want to see her driven out of the city. If someone remembers me, I can give them back 10 points. Besides, whether I care or not is not a matter of whether I want to or not. Why should I use a set of rules to bind myself to it? I like Ying Xue and Yin Xiaofei, so I want to help them. Can't I? All right, you have the final say. Even after following the host for so many worlds, the system still did not understand the human heart and its host's ever-changing mentality. But Madam Host was right. Ying Xue, Yin Xiaofei, and Yin Rue weren't annoying. They knew when to advance and when to retreat, and they were polite. At the moment, they still had a pure heart. It seemed that the host liked this kind of person a little. He was as white as a piece of paper. In the end, Ying Xue borrowed 50,000 Rubik's Cube coins from Tanghua, which was enough for the 5 of them to spend 10 days in Fun City. She believed that she would be able to think of another way. This 50,000 Rubik's Cube coins was equivalent to their escape route. Di Chunming sat by the side, not saying a word. Seeing Ying Xue actually humbly borrow Rubik's Cube coins from others, he was extremely annoyed. In all his life, he had never been taken advantage of like today. Chapter 1576. This place was really strange. He always felt that he was at odds with this place and that nothing he did would go smoothly. If he were in his previous world, he would definitely make sure that those villains who had taken over the seesaw wouldn't be able to take a step forward in society. However, this was the strange Rubik's Cube world. He only had a pair of hands. He didn't have wealth that could rival a country, nor did he have powerful strength. A few insignificant people could bully him, making him feel incomparably aggrieved. Tanghua glanced at Di Chunming's lowered head from the corner of her eye. She knew that the other party was feeling very aggrieved and uncomfortable. That's right. He was used to the life of a proud son of heaven. How could he get used to this kind of life where everyone could bully him? Di Chunming was able to successfully reach the city of Tradeback, then all because of the original owner's golden finger. Tanghua was a little curious. Could it be that without her, the rules of this world wouldn't open up another golden finger for Di Chunming? As the male lead, this didn't make sense. System. What's there that doesn't make sense? The host is already here. The male lead's halo is gone. That's normal. You can sleep on the floor first. In the room, Tanghua said to Gong Wei. Gong Wei gently raised his eyebrows. Where are you going? Next door, to find my 2 friends to chat. I'll go with you. Gong Wei didn't even want to think about it, afraid that she wouldn't agree. You promised before that I can always follow you. City Lord Gong, I didn't realize that you were a shameless person in the past. Gong Wei didn't care how Tangwa ridiculed him. He stood up and walked to her side, stretching out his arm in front of her. It's better to lean on me. You've been leaning on me for a month. Won't you be used to it if no one leans on you to walk? Tangwa pursed her lips and placed her hand on Gong Wei's arm. Have you figured out what to do about the previous question? What question? Didn't you say that you're very strange and think that I've cultivated some secret technique? If I really cultivate some secret technique, what are you going to do? Gong Wei remembered this. To be honest, he had never thought about this question. What was he going to do? He couldn't control himself from looking at her now. Whatever she wanted to do, he only had one thought, and that was to satisfy her. Gong Wei recalled that Tangwa had borrowed 50,000 Rubik's Cube coins from Yingxue. A Rubik's Cube interspatial ring appeared in his hand. He placed the ring in Tangwa's hand. Take this. What? Tangwa pinched the ring and asked knowingly, an engagement ring? No. Gong Wei had just said no when an idea flashed through his mind and he changed his words. If you think so, then so be it. He glanced at the ring. The style was quite nice. Fortunately, he took out a high-quality item and didn't use a Rubik's Cube pocket to casually take it out for her. Why is it filled with magic cube coins? Why are you giving it to me? Gong Wei coughed lightly. Don't you like to buy little dresses and trinkets? This should be enough to buy things in every city for the next few months. You think I lack Rubik's Cube coins? Not at all. Gong Wei never felt that she lacked magic cube coins. The city lord of the City of Exchange was the richest of the city lords of the magic cube world. Tangwa's lips curved slightly. Then why did you give me Rubik's Cube coins? I didn't think too much about it. I just gave it to you when I wanted to. Gong Wei frowned slightly. So, what kind of secret technique did you cultivate? Tangwa put the ring on her finger and looked at the exquisite ring with a smile. Chapter 1577. The ring, which was originally not suitable for him, became just right after he put it on his finger. It's a kind of soul-sucking secret technique that makes people unable to control themselves and treat me well without principles. Tangwa's beautiful eyes said to Gong Wei, Are you afraid? Gong Wei's heart skipped a beat when he saw her watery eyes. Soul-sucking, making him unable to control himself and treat her well without principles. Wasn't this his current situation? Yes. Now he was the one who wanted to dig out his heart for her to eat. Really? Really, Gong Wei? I said I want all the treasures in your hands now. Will you give them to me? Gong Wei opened his mouth, but before he could say anything, a ring appeared in his hand. When he saw the ring, he was stunned for a moment. This ring contained the best treasures in his collection. I believe you. Gong Wei pinched the small ring and handed it to Tangwa. Then do you want it? Tangwa laughed, took the ring in her hand and put it on Gong Wei's ring finger again. No. No? Why did he still feel a little disappointed? Tangwa's finger landed on Gong Wei's heart. Her slender fingers, painted with red nail polish, gently landed on it. She could clearly feel Gong Wei's heart beating nonstop. Gong Wei was not prepared at all. With this woman's strength, she only needed to use a little force to dig out his heart. I'm cultivating a soul-sucking secret technique. From now on, you will listen to me. Everything you have, isn't it also mine? Gong Wei felt that what she said made sense. He was about to lose his freedom of life and was controlled by a woman, but he could not resist at all. On the contrary, he was happy, willing, and eager to be ordered by her. This secret technique was really powerful. It could make him willingly be controlled by her. Then what do you want me to do? Gong Wei's eyes were very clear. He could see everything at a glance. It was clearly written that he would do whatever she said. Didn't you say earlier that we were engaged? Tangwa smiled and said, When I'm done, you can prepare your dowry and marry into the city of trade. System. Give an inch and you want a mile. You just love to tease your cutie. Aren't you afraid that you'll break him? But was this how Gong Wei looked? It was simply a small matter, and she seemed to be quite happy about it. He really had nothing to say. This guy was the most unprincipled. No matter how cold his persona was, in front of his great host, he would completely collapse and become a loyal dog that acted as one. All right, Gong Wei answered without any hesitation. After answering, he felt that his heart was really satisfied. At this moment, he also hoped that she would settle the matter as soon as possible. Once she was done, he would belong to her. System. You've completely lost your moral integrity. Tanghua held Gong Wei's hand and appeared in Fairy Piao Miao's room. The two of them looked at each other when they saw that Tanghua had actually brought this gigolo over. This is Gong Wei, Tanghua introduced. If there are no accidents and he has been obedient, he will be my partner here. When Gong Wei heard this, he felt a little strange. She had a partner here. Could it be that she could go elsewhere? Hearing Tanghua's words, the two of them did not mind and discussed things in front of Gong Wei. Chapter 1578. The school belle wasn't afraid that this person would know, so she dared to bring him here. This meant that he was on her side. School belle, what are you going to do this time? Piao Miao Fairy asked. I think you already know that the two of us have been in the Rubik's Cube world for thousands of years, but we still haven't obtained the key to leave. Thinking of this, Piao Miao Fairy felt wronged. Back then, she was a beauty in the cultivation world. Ever since she fell into this place, what kind of life had she been living? If it wasn't for that group that suddenly appeared, she would really go crazy. Wanderer Silverring also sighed. Piao Miao, are you okay? I'm the unlucky one. Originally, I was going to hold a ceremony with Junior Sister the next day. Now that I suddenly disappeared, I don't know if Junior Sister has fallen in love with someone else. The two of them actually came from different cultivation worlds. After coming to the Rubik's Cube world, they had that group. After knowing each other in the group, the Rubik's Cube world rotated countless times before they finally met. From then on, they walked here together. Most of the people here were no threat to them. Even if the rules didn't allow them to become stronger, they wouldn't be able to leave. For a cultivator who pursued strength, this was undoubtedly restricting their growth. If their mentality wasn't stable, they would have already given birth to inner demons. This time, my target is Di Chunming. Tanghua didn't hide anything. As usual, she told the original story. Even if Gong Wei was beside her, she wasn't afraid. When Gong Wei heard Tanghua's story, his eyes turned cold. This coldness wasn't directed at Tanghua, but at Gong Wei. She really didn't expect that the Rubik's Cube world would be destroyed by a small character like Gong Wei in the future. Furthermore, he stabbed a dagger into her heart. System, are you focusing on the wrong thing? All right, now you know that if you stab me in the heart and kill me, you can leave. Do you have any special thoughts? Tanghua said with a smile. Piao Miao Fairy and Wanderer Silverring shook their heads. No at all. Although they weren't merciful people, they were still people who valued friendship. They wouldn't stab their companion to death just to leave. They could slowly think of a way to get out of here. Besides, Tanghua was now the city lord of the City of Trade, which was a good thing for them. The fact that Tanghua dared to say it so openly proved that she was not afraid. Logically speaking, they weren't that stupid. So, now you plan to lure the snake out of its hole? Yes. Fairy Piao Miao and Fairy Piao Miao both believed that the Magic Cube world was mystical and also had many strange places. However, other than being unable to leave this place, they had actually obtained many benefits. They dared to believe that there weren't many people here who were willing to destroy the Magic Cube world. Do you want to know how the two of you will die in Zhai Qinming's hands in the future? Tanghua's sudden words scared the two of them so much that their legs started to tremble. What? Did they have a share in this? Faced with their surprised gazes, Tanghua raised her chin and said with a smile, I have to tell you a very unfortunate news. You are also cannon fodder. I'm so strong. Wanderer Silverring was a bit unwilling. I can kill that brat with a single finger, but he can kill me? Fairy Piao Miao also didn't believe it. Yes, I spat on him and he fainted. How could they be killed by Zhai Qinming? The Magic Cube world didn't expel her, indicating that it recognized her arrival. Tanghua held Gong Wei's arm as they walked out of the room. When they passed by the corridor, they inadvertently glanced down and happened to see Di Chunming, who was walking towards the entertainment area. She stopped in her tracks and Gong Wei asked, What's wrong? At this time, Di Chunming had already walked into the darkness and his figure could not be seen. Tangwa pulled Gong Wei back to the room before saying, I saw Di Chunming. He went outside. I don't know what he's going to do. Do you want to follow him and take a look? No need. If someone really found him, wouldn't that alert the enemy? Let's see what the other party wants to do. Chapter 1580. Gong Wei didn't care about that anymore and turned to ask Tangwa, after those things are settled, are you going to leave here? While speaking, Gong Wei unknowingly hugged her and even used some strength. You said that once things are settled, I'll bring my dowry to your city of trade. Are you going back on your words? System. Host, don't you think you're a bit of a scumbag? Look, you just promised to marry someone, and now your cutie thinks that you're going to leave after settling things. Look at how scared he is. Hurry up and coax him. Tangwa also didn't expect Gong Wei to be so involved. Seeing his eyes, there was actually a hint of pitifulness written in them. You woman, you actually lied to me. You just promised to marry me, and now you're going to leave. She was a little afraid that if she said she was going to leave, would he stay by her side and cry? Gong Wei, no matter what excuse, you have to do what you promised. System. Ha ha ha, what a piece of sticky candy. Are you surprised, host? I didn't say I couldn't do it. Tangwa hugged his waist. Remove the danger of the Rubik's Cube world, and I will stay here until my life dies. You're really willing to stay until your life dies? Gong Wei said. Tangwa nodded, yes. Gong Wei's heart relaxed, and he hugged her tightly. His voice was low and with some affection. No matter what you are or what kind of secret technique you've cultivated, you have to do what you promised. You're the city lord of the Rubik's Cube world. Every word you say has to count. Otherwise, you'll be punished by the rules. Was this a threat? Tangwa pursed her lips and smiled. Count. How can I not count? But the city lord of the Rubik's Cube life is unpredictable. I don't know when it will die. System. Is this a warning? After all, the host's life can only be extended by 20 years. It's okay. When we get married, we'll make a contract. If you disappear, I'll die too. When Tangwa was about to lie down and rest, she saw that Gong Wei did not sleep on the floor. Instead, he climbed up and lay down beside her. He even hugged her. Seeing that she was staring at him, he said, We're about to get married. It's not good to always sleep on the floor. You've already told others that not only are we engaged, but we're also living together. From today onwards, let's officially live together. With that, he hugged Tangwa and closed his eyes. Tangwa caressed his face and said to the system, What an innocent guy. Hugging to sleep is cohabitation. Host, maybe you are too dirty. How is hugging to sleep not cohabitation? The next day, everyone realized that there seemed to be something between Tangwa and Gong Wei that hadn't been there before. Tangwa also noticed that there was something different about Di Chunming's body. Gong Wei sized up Di Chunming and looked away. His voice only reached Tangwa's ears. I don't see anything wrong with him. There's something wrong with him, but he's very secretive. Tangwa also looked at Gong Wei. She only glanced at Di Chunming once before looking away, indicating that she wanted to go to the project. The two of them left hand in hand, leaving Di Chunming with their backs. Di Chunming's clenched fists also gradually loosened. They really didn't notice? Hee kid. They're from the Rubik's Cube world. If they really noticed that there was something wrong with you, how could they leave without batting an eyelid? If you were found out, you would have been crushed to death by them. Now you believe in my abilities, kid. My goal is to get the medicine to cure Shue's terminal illness and then leave. Chapter 1581. Kid. The Rubik's Cube world is a place where there is nowhere to go. The mysterious voice made Di Chunming's heart sink. What do you mean? Last night, he was going to sleep. Inadvertently, a strange voice sounded in his ear, attracting his attention. In the end, he followed the voice to the entertainment facility and talked with the other party for a long time. Of course, he didn't see anyone. But the other party told him that he could help him through the current difficulties and help him get what he wanted in the Rubik's Cube world. And the other party only had one purpose, to use him to leave this place. Last night, they didn't talk about leaving the Rubik's Cube world. Now listening to the other party's words, it seems that there is no way out of the Rubik's Cube world? Kid, if you don't believe me, You can ask those people who have been in the Rubik's Cube world for a long time if they want to go out and why they don't. Then you will understand. Hearing this, Di Chunming believed 70% of it. Last night, the other party showed some magical power. For example, let those entertainment facilities run automatically, and there won't be this situation during the day. The other party also said that only when he goes to the trading city can he get what he wants. The trading city is rich in items, but the price is very expensive, requiring countless Rubik's Cube coins to exchange. In his current situation, it's difficult to save his life. How can he save enough Rubik's Cube coins? What made him even angrier was that the place told him that Tanghua and Gongwei, two seemingly ordinary people, are actually people from the Rubik's Cube world. As for their identity, the other party didn't say for the time being, but judging from the other party's tone, they are definitely not of low status. The people in the Rubik's Cube world like to pretend to be ordinary people and watch you outsiders struggle to live. The more miserable you are, the happier they will be. Think about it. Isn't it like this all the way? Living in the Rubik's Cube world for almost a month, Di Chunming's life is indeed as the other party said. He is sullen, uncomfortable, living in this place cowering, unable to fight at all. And Tanghua and Gongwei, laughing and laughing all the way, as if they are really playing the world. And his miserable state, sullen, in the eyes of the other party, is probably laughing at an ordinary person like him for overestimating his own capabilities. If she really thinks of him as a teammate, how can she bear to see them struggle? Shui come to her and beg for help for the third time. Under such emotions, Di Chunming agreed to the mysterious voice and chose to bind himself to it. Then tell me, what should I do to get out? You should have a way, right? Kill one of them, and you can go out. The mysterious person's gloomy voice sounded out, causing Di Chunming's entire body to turn cold. Kill one of them, and the magic cube world will collapse. All of you trapped in the magic cube world will be free. They're not ordinary people. I can't kill them. Di Chunming knew his limits. Moreover, he was thinking about how to gain more benefits from this mysterious man. After witnessing all kinds of miraculous powers, no one would be willing to leave just like that. I will create opportunities for you, allowing you to obtain extraordinary strength. The magic cube world will be your training ground. Before that, you can't let the cat out of the bag. Otherwise, you'll be easily suspected. Chapter 1582. Shui, you guys go to the seesaw first. Since it's still early and the entertainment city is so big, I want to take a look at other places. We'll meet again in the afternoon. Why don't I go with you? Ying Shui was still worried. Di Chunming touched Ying Shui's cheek. The entertainment city is so big. You're not in good health. How can you be too tired? If you're really bored, you can go and watch Tanghua and the rest play some entertainment. Tanghua and Gongwei have always been lucky. There shouldn't be any problems. Since those two were not ordinary people, Shui should not be in any danger with them. From Tanghua's previous behavior, she seemed to be close to Shui. Before he grew up, he could only trouble her to help him take care of Shui. Ying Shui only felt that something was wrong with Di Chunming today. Looking carefully, there was nothing wrong. Perhaps he was too anxious and wanted to find another way out. Di Chunming sent Ying Shui to the seesaw and saw that the villains from yesterday still occupied that place. Ordinary people who couldn't afford to offend them and didn't dare to play other entertainment could only obediently pay 1,000 Rubik's Cube coins to sit on the seesaw. Sitting on the seesaw could only earn them 100 Rubik's Cube coins. Oh, it's you guys. You want to sit on the seesaw today too? A burly man walked in front of the two. His name was Li Chengqiang, and he was the leader of the villains. He glanced at Ying Shui's beautiful face and whistled. If you want to sit, 2,000 Rubik coins per person. If you don't have enough, you can use other things to offset it. For example, this beauty in front of you. Ying Shui was a little disgusted by his gaze and took out the Rubik's Cube coins. Li Chengqiang was a little disappointed. All right. Di Chunming's cold gaze swept across Li Chengqiang. He was really worried about Ying Shui and accompanied her to sit on the seesaw. Then, he brought the three of them to the place where Tanghua was sitting on the roller coaster before leaving alone. Ying Shui, what's wrong? Ying Xiaofei looked at Tanghua and Gongwei. The two of them were actually sitting on a roller coaster. The parts of the roller coaster were constantly falling down. She was sweating profusely. In the end, Tanghua and Gongwei's chairs and wheels were intact. She couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief. These two people were really lucky. She turned around and saw Ying Shue frowning, so she asked what was going on. I have a feeling that something is wrong with Ming. Ying Shue, you're overthinking things. It's definitely because of what happened recently that Big Brother Chen Ming isn't too happy. When we get to the city of trade and get the medicine to cure your terminal illness, everything will be fine after we get out. I hope so. Ying Shue was still worried. She looked at Tanghua and Gongwei. After a round of the roller coaster, they still wanted to continue. She couldn't help but say, they must be cheating. Isn't that a cheat? Along the way, their luck is the best. When Tanghua was on the 5th round of the roller coaster, another lunatic joined in. It was a young man who looked like a ruffian. He wore a pair of ripped jeans and looked sloppy. He also wore a big gold chain around his neck. One look, and one could tell that he wasn't a good person. The seat he chose was next to Tanghua. Another new face. Young people nowadays are always looking for excitement. Just now, there was someone who fell and hurt his head. There are always people who don't learn from their mistakes. Chapter 1583. When the roller coaster started, everyone could no longer see the expressions of the people sitting on it clearly. The young man leaned back in his chair leisurely and raised his eyebrows. His voice was as frivolous and indecent as he was. Why are the two of you here? He glanced at Gongwei, who was holding Tanghua's hand tightly, and whistled. Oh, the two of you are together. How strange. You don't have to say anymore. I know. You're dating. Of course, you have to go on a date. Then, you came to my territory. I've been sleepy for the past 2 days. That's why I said something was wrong. The young man looked curious. His gaze was still sweeping across Tanghua and Gongwei's faces. Speaking of which, why are the two of you together? His gaze shifted to Tanghua's beautiful face and he raised his chin. Tanghua, why don't you choose me? I'm young and handsome, and I have a huge amusement park. I can say sweet words. You'll be happier if you choose me. Before Tanghua could say anything, Gongwei glanced at him and said, You look as shabby as the amusement park. Xiaogua has good taste. She won't choose you. He was as shabby as the amusement park? The young man's eyes widened. He looked down at his torn jeans, then at the dilapidated amusement park. Then, he sized up Gongwei, who was wearing a suit, a tie, shiny leather boots, and a bald head. He laughed out loud. Gongwei, are you kidding me? You're actually wearing this to ride the roller coaster? Then, he glanced at Tanghua's beautiful little dress and pointed high heels and decisively shut up. What I mean is, it's actually more dangerous to ride the roller coaster when you're dressed so nicely. I can protect her, Gongwei said matter-of-factly. He put one hand on Tanghua's shoulder and threw a handful of dog food at the young man's face. The young man spread his hands. All right, are you really here for a date? Zhanglu, there's a person called Zhai Qinming. I want to see his situation now. Get him out and take a look. At this moment, other than Tanghua's group and Piamiao Fairy's group, everyone else had already fallen. The young man's name was Zhanglu, the city lord of Fun City. Hearing Tanghua's words, he didn't refute her. He opened his palm, and as his consciousness moved, the name Di Qianming appeared on his palm along with a portrait of Di Qianming. I've checked. There's only one person named Di Qianming in Fun City. Is he the one? It's him. After receiving confirmation, the image on Zhang Li's palm changed, and Di Qianming's location appeared. However, the place where Di Qianming was at was actually a cloud of fog. Di Qianming could not be seen at all. If Zhang Li hadn't specifically looked at Di Qianming and casually scanned the area, he wouldn't have noticed that there was someone here. The roller coaster in his amusement city was no longer under his control, as if it was controlled by a mysterious force. He tried to control it, but was stopped by Tanghua. What happened? Zhang Li stared at the white fog, his expression dignified. Is there something fierce that broke into the magic cube world? It's more like lurking than breaking in. Tanghua looked at the cloud of fog and said, Don't act rashly and alert the enemy. Di Qianming is currently my teammate. I'm just informing you. You don't have to do anything. You just have to be vigilant at all times. Interesting. Zhang glanced at the white fog on his palm. Chapter 1584. When the roller coaster was about to stop, Zhang Lu flipped his hair and smiled at Tanghua. Tanghua, are you really not going to consider me? If I dress up, I won't lose out to Gongwei. My amusement park is so big, but I've always been lazy. I don't want to spend time to change the facilities. If you consider me, I can spend a lot of money to renovate this place. I won't consider you. Tanghua rejected him directly. I'm not interested in people like you. Ah, that really hurts my heart. Zhang Lu was sad for a moment, but soon he smiled again. Are you serious?
Yes.
Gongwei replied. Don't come between us again. Otherwise, I'll take you to Sin City and let you experience the feeling of being shot to death 1,000 times. When Zhang Lu heard this, he was so frightened that his entire body trembled. Sure enough, this man would only show such a soft side when he was really moved. Okay, I'm just saying, I can't afford to raise the city lord of the City of Exchange. I can't afford to offend him. How could any girl like him in this shabby place? The girls outside didn't want to stay here. He was the only one in the amusement park. The girls from other cities definitely wouldn't want to come to this place. Therefore, he would be lonely for life. Tanghua and Zhang Lu didn't choose to ride the roller coaster. Mist Fairy and Zhang Lu didn't stop and continued to ride on it. To them, the more Rubik's Cube coins they could get, the better. The amusement park was the easiest place to get Rubik's Cube coins. They just needed to ride these dangerous rides. In Xiaofei looked at Tanghua with envy. Tanghua, you two are so lucky. She was so envious. Although she was jealous, she wasn't impulsive. She didn't think that she would be as lucky as Tanghua. She wouldn't fall to her death. Compared to rich Rubik's Cube coins, she wanted to live more. Where's Di Chanming? Tanghua asked knowingly. Ying Xue replied. Ming said that he wanted to go to other places to take a look. The seesaw has always been occupied by Li Chengqiang and the others. If this continues, we won't be able to make ends meet. Ying Xue was a little embarrassed. I'm a little embarrassed to keep borrowing from you. Besides, I don't know what's going to happen next. I just bought a lot of life-saving talismans from that young man. I can lend them to you to use first and earn some magic cube coins. With the life-saving talisman, no matter what kind of entertainment you play, you won't lose your life or get hurt. Tanghua took out a stack of life-saving talismans and handed it to Ying Xue. Take it. When you earn Rubik's coins, you can return it to me. Ying Xue only hesitated for a moment before taking it. Okay, thank you. I will return it to you. At this time, it was useless to be pretentious and reserved. Besides, there was nothing to be reserved about. The fact that Tanghua bought a life-saving talisman could only mean that she prepared it for them. Ying Xue felt grateful, as did Yin Xiaofei and her brother. Tanghua watched as the few of them went to some less dangerous entertainment to play. She stood by the side and looked at them with a smile. Gong Wei couldn't help but ask, I thought that your plan was to stand by and watch them go on. I only want to teach Di Chunming a lesson. He's too annoying. He actually used my mentality to send Ying Xue and the others to me without worry. Since that's the case, I won't stand on ceremony. Chapter 1585. Di Chunming wanted to grow up secretly. Tanghua buried her head and smiled. Then she would help Ying Xue and the rest to grow up openly. Di Chunming looked at all of this and felt smug. He thought that this was good too. He would not stop Ying Xue and the rest from growing up with her strength. But he forgot one thing. Ying Xue and the rest were not ungrateful people like him. She put in so much effort to help them. If Di Chunming dared to do anything to her in the future, Ying Xue and the rest would stand up to oppose him. Tongzi, do you think Di Chunming will go crazy if Ying Xue and the rest speak up for me in the future? She still felt that it would be too easy for Di Chunming to simply kill him. It would not relieve her anger at all. System. No matter what the great host wants to do, I will support you. Do whatever you want to vent your anger. Di Chunming would be angered to death. At this moment, Tanghua finally had a clearer idea of how to take revenge. Di Chunming could not be killed directly. As for the soul trapped in the Rubik's Cube world, she wanted to crush it directly. That thing would be a disaster if it was left alive. Didn't Di Chunming want to get out? Then she would make sure that Di Chunming would never be able to get out. The key to the Rubik's Cube world was in her hands. Without her permission, Di Chunming could only watch helplessly. What if others could get out, but Di Chunming could not? She really had to study the lottery box. She had to mark the key. Whoever drew it could get out. She could not give it away. When the system heard Tangwa's plan, it sighed in its heart. This woman was really too evil. Gong Wei felt the scheming in Tangwa's eyes. His heart skipped a beat. He asked softly, Xiaoguo, what do you want to do? I want to help Yingxue and the rest grow up. I want them to be like fish in water in the Rubik's Cube world and not be so passive. What's your purpose? To anger Di Chunming to death. Gong Wei held her hand tightly and said, I will help you. What should I do? He wanted to help her no matter what she wanted to do. He only thought that it was fine as long as she was happy. He desperately wanted to end all of this and go back to get married. System. Look at how anxious she is to get married. What a joke. Tangwa tiptoed and whispered into Gong Wei's ear. Next, we're going to start picking things up. Picking things up? Let's pick up the cultivation manuals and treasures and share them with the Yingxue and the others. As for Di Chunming, he definitely won't want them. Furthermore, he won't be able to use the things we find. I don't want him to take advantage of us. All right. When they met in the afternoon, it was obvious that Di Chunming looked completely different. Tangwa, on the other hand, sensed a dark and bloody aura from the other party. She instantly understood that the person behind this was not a good person. Even though Di Chunming's body was concealed by a secret technique, she could still sense that Di Chunming practiced some kind of demonic technique. In this way, it was convenient for her to do things. Since Di Chunming had cultivated a demonic art, she would let Yingxue and the other two cultivate the orthodox arts. During the meal, Di Chunming regained his confidence and gave Yingxue a lot of Rubik's Cube coins. The Rubik's Cube coins asked him where he came from. He said that he had encountered some fortuitous encounters and was lucky. In the future, he would not be so poor. Yingxue believed him and did not ask further. Seeing that Di Chunming looked much better, she also heaved a sigh of relief. After the meal, Tangwa took out a cultivation manual. I bought this from Piamiao Ferry. Chapter 1586. Take a look and see if you can cultivate it. It's better to have some strength than nothing. Tangwa said casually, making Yingxue a little embarrassed. She knew Piamiao Ferry. On the first day she came, she saw her and that wanderer called Yin Huan riding a roller coaster crazily. She heard that they were two crazy big shots from the Rubik's Cube world who came from the cultivation world. Who knew how many Rubik's Cube coins this secret technique would cost? She was at a loss for what to do with such a favor. Yin Xiaofei and Yin Rue were the same. Although they had dreamed of flying to immortality since they were young, this sudden favor still made them feel a little uneasy. They always felt that they were incompetent. Along the way, they had received a lot of favors from Tangwa. If it weren't for her, they didn't know what they would have encountered now. They might not have been able to walk out of the entertainment city alive. The road ahead would be filled with dangers. Truth be told, this cultivation secret technique was very tempting to them. Tangwa, you bought the cultivation technique. It's yours. You just cultivate it. Along the way, we've been taking advantage of it. I'm really embarrassed. Yingxue's cheeks were a little red. The life-saving talisman you lent me before is very good. With it, we can still get a lot of Rubik's Cube coins. Yes. Yin Xiaofei quickly nodded, although her eyes were fixed on the cultivation technique. Di Chunming was also a little surprised. Then he remembered Tangwa's identity and felt very disdainful. What did she mean by buying it from someone else? It was obviously her own. He didn't know what she was planning to do by taking it out at this time. Did she think that they would be a burden? So she took out such a low-level secret technique for them to cultivate? Is that secret technique a low-level secret technique? Di Chunming couldn't help but ask the mysterious person. It's a low-level cultivation technique. It's useless to you. But if your friends cultivate it, it's okay. They can protect themselves. It's good for you. Okay. Di Chunming was a complete novice when it came to cultivation. For a mortal like Yingxue who was suffering from a terminal illness and had a weak body, Without the help of an expert, how could she cultivate a top-notch cultivation technique? She would not be able to withstand it. The low-level secret cultivation method that Tangwa gave him was low-level, but it was also entry-level. As long as he had a good foundation, he would be able to cultivate more advanced secret cultivation methods in the future, which would only get better and better. Di Chunming didn't understand, and the soul behind this only thought that Tangwa was afraid that Ying Xue and the other two would drag her down, so she couldn't watch the show. In the end, under Tangwa's persuasion, Ying Xue and the other two decided to cultivate. In order not to be suspected, Di Chunming recited the cultivation technique once. In the following days, Di Chunming left early and returned late every day. Ying Xue saw that Di Chunming's mental state was getting better and better. Furthermore, both of them were cultivating cultivation techniques. Di Chunming's talent was definitely better, so she wasn't too worried. Di Chunming could now display some of his strength. After all, he had Tangwa's cultivation method as a cover. As for Ying Xue and the other two, they spent half a day on the entertainment activities and the rest of the time on cultivation. After cultivating for 3 to 5 days, they all felt the beauty of the cultivation method and couldn't stop at all. All of this was under Tangwa's control. Seeing that the three of them were getting better and better, her smile became brighter and brighter. One morning, when Tangwa and the others passed by the seesaw, because they came early, the entertainment activities hadn't started yet when it was dawn. At a glance, they found several corpses lying on the seesaw. Chapter 1587. It's them. Ying Xue recognized them at a glance. They were the people who would go to the seesaw early in the morning. They took advantage of the fact that they were experienced players in the Rubik's Cube world and charged for it. The leader was called Li Chengqiang. He was different from the others. He was lying face down on the seesaw. No. Just as Ying Xue felt that something was wrong, Yin Xiaofei screamed. She quickly leaned into Yin Rui's arms. Brother! The seesaw went through his body. The two siblings were standing very close to each other. It was easy to see the seesaw sticking out from Li Chengqiang's back. It turned out that he wasn't lying on the seesaw. One end of the seesaw went through his stomach and onto his back. Li Chengqiang was facing them. It was early in the morning and the sky was bright. If one was further away, they wouldn't be able to see the situation. They would think that he was lying on the seesaw. Ying Xue's face was already pale. Now, even her lips were pale. What's going on? Who killed them? Ying Xue asked. These people were despicable. She didn't feel sorry for their deaths. She just felt that this world could take away lives at will. It made her scalp tingle. It was not that she was a saint, but if she had the strength, based on the previous behavior of Li Chengqiang and the others, she would have definitely taught them a lesson. She would not have chosen to kill them directly, let alone use such a cruel and alarming method. Ying Xue suddenly understood that this was a world without restrictions. If they met such a scary and mysterious person, they could lose their lives at any time. Happiness City was indeed the happiest place. Schwerer, let's go somewhere else. Di Chunming's expression did not change. He carried Ying Xue in his arms and glanced at the corpses. A cold smile flashed across his lips. Perhaps they had done too many evil things, and someone could not stand it. It's not surprising that they would end up like this. Ying Xue couldn't take it anymore. She was taken away by Di Chunming. Tangwa stood at the spot where Li Chengqiang and the others were. She glanced at them and said to Gong Wei, "It's your first time killing someone. You didn't even bat an eyelid. You're amazing." Gong Wei didn't care about the lives of these people. They were the city lords of the Magic Cube world. In truth, the cities themselves weren't dangerous. As long as they were careful, they could survive. It was only the outsiders themselves who made life difficult for the outsiders. Wherever there were people, there would be fights and life-and-death situations. They had seen a lot of things like this, but they would never pay attention to it. As long as outsiders don't break the rules of the Magic Cube world, they won't interfere. And as city lords, the truth was that they couldn't casually kill outsiders. If they wanted to kill outsiders, there was only a single reason. That was that outsiders had threatened the Magic Cube world, violated the rules, and attacked them on their own initiative. Gong Wei recalled what Tangwa had said. Zhai Chunming would stab her in the heart in the future. She felt a chill in her heart and hurriedly held her hand. Previously, he still had some doubts, but now, all of them were gone. I won't let him hurt you. Gong Wei's voice slowly drifted into Tangua's ears, causing her to smile. I know, he can't hurt me. I'm not sure about the others. Let's see what he's going to do next. Fairy Piao Miao and Wanderer Yin Huan also saw the deaths of Li Chengqiang and the others. Chapter 1588. Seeing that there was no trace of Di Qinming's aura on the corpse, she became more alert. The two of them looked at each other and decided to use this period of time to recover their state of mind so that they would not be tricked by that kid. That kid was really ruthless. He killed people just because of a disagreement. Although they felt that killing was nothing, they had their own principles and were not murderous maniacs. Shuer, are you okay? Compared to the others, Di Qinming was in a good mood. Ever since he met that mysterious person and was bound to him, his luck seemed to have changed. Everything went smoothly. Ying Xue still had not recovered. She was not in the mood to play any entertainment today. Li Chengqiang and the rest were dead on the seesaw. She could not play with the seesaw for the time being. Shuer, why don't you take a break first and watch Tangua and the rest play? I'll go somewhere else to take a look. Ever since he started cultivating, Di Qinming had improved rapidly. Now, he could play many activities. Ying Xue did not suspect anything and only nodded. She had originally planned to go with Di Qinming. However, Di Qinming said that his luck was not very good. He was afraid that he would neglect her and provoke some strange people if he focused on the entertainment. He told her to follow Tangua. Tangua and Gong Wei's luck had always been good. She would not be in danger. Ying Xue knew her own body and understood that Di Qinming was worried about her. She was afraid that she would affect him. Therefore, she agreed not to follow him, but to follow Tangua. I'll watch you play this morning. Ying Xue sat at the side with pale lips and said to Tangua. Of course, Tangua did not mind. She glanced at Di Qinming's back and said, All right, if you really can't do it, go back and rest. Your health is important. It's okay. I'll be fine after some rest. I'll definitely get used to this place. There are no rules here. Many things like this may happen in the future. Although my body is weak and sick, I'm considered lucky to have met you guys. I can't possibly be a burden while all of you are improving, right? Ying Xue had never felt that she should be taken care of by her teammates because she was weak and sick. It was really rare for a teammate to disregard everything and give her a cultivation technique that he had spent a lot of money on. Although that cultivation method could not cure her illness, after practicing it, her body had indeed improved a lot. Furthermore, she was no longer as weak as before. Even before she met Di Qinming, she had never thought that he would be the one protecting her every single time. Ying Xue sat by the side and watched Tangua play all kinds of dangerous games. She was also slowly cultivating. When Misty Fairy saw Ying Xue's actions, she couldn't help but nod. Among those people, the one that caught her eye the most was Ying Xue. Chapter 1589. Di Qinming was a little anxious. He didn't want to be played like a toy. What's the hurry? When the time comes, I'll give you something. Just do as I say, and it'll be easy to take their lives. What you need to do now is to hurry up and cultivate. Try to cultivate to the peak of your strength before you go out. Di Qinming calmed down. He thought of last night. Those people were terrified and begging him for mercy. In the end, they were easily killed by him. He even directly pierced Li Chengqiang onto the seesaw. Seeing the other party die in front of him, he finally vented the anger in his heart. The feeling of being in control of the whole situation returned to him. The few corpses on the seesaw had been automatically cleared by the entertainment city when the sky was bright. They disappeared without a trace. The seesaw still looked like the original seesaw. After Tangua and Gong Wei finished playing, they came back with Ying Xue and passed by here. They couldn't help but look at the seesaw. The scene in the morning was still flashing in their minds. During lunch break, Zhang Lu appeared in Tangua's room. He looked at Gong Wei holding Tangua's waist. The two of them were acting ambiguously and were whispering something. He revealed a look of embarrassment. It's noon. I didn't expect you to disturb me. Sorry for disturbing. What's the matter? Gong Wei didn't let go of Tangua. The two of them leaned against each other and looked at Zhonglu at the same time. Zhonglu almost ran away. No matter where it was, a single dog was always the most pitiful. What else can it be? That Gong Wei is improving too quickly. I'm here to ask you if you're going to continue with the original plan? Tangwa looked up and asked, can you guarantee that if we attack him now, we can catch the person behind him? No. Zhang Lu was a little distressed. Then at the last moment, can you guarantee that we can catch the person behind him?
Yes.
Zhang Lu. Fuck. Doesn't he want face? This woman is really getting more and more annoying. If I'm not wrong, the place where the soul is really attached to is in that dagger. As long as we can find a way to get that dagger, there will be no problem. This was Tangwa's initial plan. Seeing Zhang Lu staring at her, she said, I know what you're trying to say. You're just trying to say that the dagger is in the city of trade. Why don't you just use the ability of the city lord to find the dagger, right?
Yes.
But what if that dagger is not currently in the city of trade? Even if it is, it must have used some kind of special method to conceal itself. No matter how hard we try, we won't be able to find it. Zhang Lu suddenly understood. That's right. Since he can hide from my eyes, there must be something powerful about him. That's not right. He can hide from my eyes. He looked at Gong Wei and asked, Gong Wei, don't tell me that you also noticed his abnormality? Gong Wei replied, I didn't notice. So, Tangwa was the only one who discovered it? Zhang Lu was a little happy. He laughed and walked in front of Gong Wei. He stretched out his fist, intending to hammer Gong Wei's chest excitedly. In the end, he was stopped by a wooden fan, causing his fist to shrink back. I just want to express that Gong Wei and I are the same. Zhang Lu laughed awkwardly. He really didn't know what this woman meant. Since you know him, I'll share half of the Rubik's coins with you. After Tangwa understood the whole story, she almost laughed to death. Zhang Lu didn't expect Yin Xiaofei to ask Tangwa to testify. He quickly stood up straight. Old madam, what do you mean? Just you wait. Yin Xiaofei jogged away. Not long after, she took a blanket and laid it on the ground. She even did a yoga pose. Under Zhang Li's incredulous gaze, she started. Io, 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 Io. Remember to give me the Rubik's Cube coins. Zhang Lu. Chapter 1591. Zhang Lu was dumbfounded the whole time Yin Xiaofei was lying on the blanket and crying out in pain. He had seen countless outsiders, but he had never seen such a shameless outsider. Moreover, she was a young girl who was not even 20 years old. She really did that. Yin Xiaofei's throat was a little dry from all the talking, but she could get 1,000 Rubik's Cube coins for each cry. It was much safer than playing those scary games. Wasn't it just lying on the ground and being called an old lady? Thinking about the large amounts of Rubik's Cube coins in her pocket, she seemed to have regained her strength and continued to cry out. Zhang Li's teeth chattered. He walked to Tang Gua and whispered, She's the one who's being unreasonable. He slapped his forehead, very annoyed. Tangwa glanced at him and said indifferently, How is she being unreasonable? She pretended to be an old lady on the ground and blackmailed me. Zhang Lu was speechless. He did not want to be taken advantage of. Weren't you the one who provoked her first? Weren't you the one who said to give her 1,000 Rubik's Cube coins for each cry?
Yes.
You still call her old lady. This is the most intolerable thing for women. No woman cannot be angry when someone calls her old lady. Now that she's showing you that she's old lady, you can take it. You have to fill the hole you dug yourself. Tangwa said with a look of justice, Zhang Lu, I can't help you this time. You're being unreasonable. She's still a young girl. You've lived for so long. Don't bully her. Zhang Lu was speechless. In the end, Yin Xiaofei was only satisfied after Zhang Lu took out a large amount of Rubik's Cube coins. She kept her word and gave half of the Rubik's Cube coins to Tangwa before leaving happily. Before she left, she waved at Zhang Lu with a smile. Next time, you can call me old lady. Just give me Rubik's Cube coins. Earning Rubik's Cube coins like this is really easy and carefree. Zhang Lu said, Sister Xiaofei, you're really young and beautiful. You're not old at all." Hearing Zhang Li's words, Yin Xiaofei left in disappointment. Zhang Li glanced at the imitation bag in Tangwa's hand and left silently. They were in cahoots. From that day onwards, Zhang Lu officially joined the team. When he was free, he would put his hands in his pockets and bicker with Yin Xiaofei. He had learned to be smart. No matter how they bickered, he would never mention Rubik's Cube coins, which disappointed Yin Xiaofei several times. Di Chenming seemed to be getting stronger and stronger. Seeing that there was only a week left, Di Chenming actually started to ride the roller coaster with Tangwa every day. Even if he didn't sit steadily at the end like Tangwa and Gong Wei, he could still rely on his own skills to wait until the end like Fairy Piao Miao and Gong Wei. Yin Rui was extremely envious of this. No matter how hard he tried to cultivate, he was unable to catch up to Di Chenming's footsteps. He could only be envious. Those two are immortal cultivators. On the roller coaster, the mysterious voice sounded. They have all kinds of treasures in their hands that can be used to find the outside world. The cultivation method that Fairy Piao Miao cultivates is very suitable for your woman to cultivate. Wanderer Silver Ring's cultivation technique was suitable for Yin Rui. If you can snatch the cultivation method from their hands, then you won't have any worries. I have no enmity with them. Di Chenming hesitated for a moment and said, "Humph, in the Rubik's Cube world, there's no such thing as enmity. Getting what you want is the right thing to do. You won't achieve great things if you're too soft-hearted." Chapter 1592. And you see that they have a good relationship with Tangwa. If you do anything to Tangwa in the future, they will definitely stand on her side. Sooner or later, they will be your hindrance. Why don't you find a chance to get rid of them first? Hearing that Piao Miao and Silver Fairy would stand on Tangwa's side and stop him from killing Tangwa in the future, the hesitation in Di Chenming's heart disappeared instantly. In fact, their relationship was really good. If he wanted to do anything to Tangwa in the future, those two would definitely stop him. Immortal cultivators were mysterious and powerful, so he had to be afraid. They have existed for a long time and are powerful. How can I deal with them? Di Chenming said this just to get information from the mysterious man. The other party must have a way to propose this. These two people have existed for a long time, but because they have been here for too long, cracks have appeared in their mental states. In other places, of course, you can't do anything to them. If it's in the Illusion Mirror City, it's easy to kill them. Is there anything special about the Illusion Mirror City? This place is a mirror that can reflect people's hearts, making people unable to distinguish between reality and illusion. No matter who it is, it's dangerous to enter the Illusion Mirror City. The stronger the person, the more dangerous it is. With my help, you won't be confused by the Illusion Mirror City. At that time, it's easy to take their lives when they have problems in their mental states. Hearing this, Di Chenming breathed a sigh of relief and agreed. He really had to get more items from outsiders. This mysterious man cooperated with him now, seemingly for his own good, but who knew what he was thinking behind it? He had to leave a way for himself. Piao Miao Fairy and Wanderer Silver Ring were immortal cultivators, so they should have some strange, mysterious, and powerful items in their hands. Tangwa leaned on Gong Wei's shoulder, and her voice came into his ear. "Is it interesting? How did you do it? You can hear their conversation? A special ability." Tangwa smiled but didn't say anything. Gong Wei didn't ask much. Instead, he breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. He held her hand tightly and whispered, "That's good." In front of her, danger had nowhere to hide, so no one would be able to hurt her. System, host, how about this function of mine? He really didn't expect that he could actually monitor that mysterious voice after upgrading to this point. Not bad, Tungzi. You're really getting more and more powerful. Continue to monitor them. You're the only one they won't notice. Okay. He was very happy to be able to help his host. Today, it was time for the Magic Cube World's monthly cycle. Everyone who knew what was going on was standing outside. Watching the sun slowly set, the sky gradually turned dark. Misty, I suddenly feel a chill in my heart. What the school bell said is probably true. We have to be careful from now on. I feel it too. The school bell would never lie to us. The illusion mirror city is different. If you fall in, it will be an illusion. You have to be careful. Don't forget, you still have to go back and see your junior sister. No matter what you see inside, don't believe it. If you see the person you want to see the most inside, you must think about how you can get out. In Huan nodded. Understood. You too. Remember what you said? There was still a flash of white light. Those who were more experienced hurriedly closed their eyes. He waited for some light to appear outside before slowly opening his eyes. Tanghua and Gongwei followed closely behind Yingxue and the others into the illusion mirror city. When she opened her eyes, Gongwei was no longer by her side. This was the uniqueness of the illusion mirror city. No matter who it was, they had to walk out of the illusion by themselves when they entered. Tanghua lowered her head and looked at herself. Her clothes seemed to have changed. She looked around and said, "It looks familiar. I think I've been here before." Chapter 1593. At this moment, Tanghua was in a very simple stone house. Inside the stone house, there was a stone bed covered with a thin layer of straw. In addition, there was a stone table and 2 stone stools. On the stone table, there were a few crudely made bowls and a basket made of wooden branches. The bowls were filled with water, and the basket was filled with a few fruits that looked very green. At this moment, Tanghua was sitting on the stone bed. She was wearing a black outfit. She walked to the front of the stone table, and from the bowl filled with water, she saw her current appearance. When she saw her reflection in the water, she was stunned for a moment. The system did not dare to make a sound. It was a system, and for some familiar scenes, it did not need to recall. If it wanted to know, it could directly retrieve it from the database and see it clearly. Tanghua sat on the stone stool, her head buried in the bowl filled with water. She stared unblinkingly at the half-ruined face. Half of the face was devastatingly beautiful, while the other half was extremely ugly. Lines and lines of hideous scars covered that half of the face. She reached out and touched it, only to feel that the scars were a little painful. Not only did the scars hurt, but she felt that every part of her body was in pain, as if numerous needles were pricking her body. Host, this is an illusion, not real. The system could not help but remind her. It was afraid that the host would remember some things and lose her mind. Tanghua looked away, no longer looking at the ruined face. She stared blankly outside the stone house and replied, "I know it's an illusion, so it's not real." The system quickly added. Tanghua smiled lightly, her expression was calm, and her tone was emotionless. It used to be real. The system did not know how to comfort her. It could only blame itself for not being sensible in the past, causing the host to face so many sad things alone. He's coming back soon. Tanghua held the bowl, drank a mouthful of water, and said indifferently. The system trembled. Who was he? He was the person who gave the host help and gentleness in this world, but immediately betrayed the host because of the female lead. He also had another identity. He was the host's blood-related older brother in this world. However, the two of them were separated by an accident when they were young. As the host earnestly played the role of the female supporting character, she became the stepping stone for the female lead, until the female lead slowly matured and left that place. He just wanted to find a quiet place to spend the rest of his time. He didn't expect to meet Wen Chao in the stone house at the bottom of the cliff. Wen Chao is a gentle person. The host already knows that she and Wen Chao are biological siblings. After getting along with Wen Chao, she couldn't help but feel closer to him. Wen Chao didn't dislike her appearance. He even comforted her that appearance couldn't decide everything. No matter what, she had to live well. For the host who had just experienced the coldness of the entire world, Wen Chao's appearance was like a hot spring, slowly warming her body. The host's plan was to live at the bottom of the cliff for the rest of his life. She just didn't expect that she hadn't finished playing the role that belonged to her. The female lead was poisoned. Everyone thought that it was the host's doing. They followed the tracks and found this place, intending to ask the host for the antidote. At that time, the host lost all her martial arts, and her appearance was ruined. It wasn't easy for her to have 2 peaceful days, but it was broken just like that. Chapter 1594. When Xiao thought that Xiao would believe her when the host said that she didn't poison him. Unexpectedly, when Xiao saw that the person who came was the female lead, Yun Qingxing, he immediately stood on Yun Qingxing's side without thinking. He even helped Yun Qingxing capture the host and interrogated her about the antidote. The system was scared when it recalled this. Even though it knew that this was an illusion, the host was right. Everything had happened before. The scars that some people had caused her would always be in her heart and could never be erased. "How are you?" His voice came before he arrived. When Xiao's voice sounded so gentle and warm that people could completely let down their guard. Then, when Xiao, who was dressed in white, walked in, he was holding some herbs in his hand and said with a smile, "Miss Tang, the injury on your face is a little serious. These herbs can relieve some of your pain." "Thank you." Tangwa was cold and indifferent, so when Xiao didn't suspect anything, he went to the side and started to fiddle with the herbs. The system didn't know what Tangwa was going to do when it saw that she didn't do anything. For the past few days, when Xiao had been taking care of her carefully, she seemed to be the same as before. If the system hadn't sensed that Tangwa was very calm, it would have worried that she might fall into an illusion. Just like that, the two of them stayed together for a month. Suddenly, when Xiao said, "Miss Tang, you're about the same age as my lost sister." When Xiao had said this before. In the past, Tangwa had planned to wait for some time to meet Wen Xiao. However, the day after she said that, the male and female leads arrived with their entourage. "Host, why don't we break this illusion? It's actually not that interesting. Let bygones be bygones. We'll have to stay in the illusion city for a month. During this month, countless illusions will appear. If we break one, there will be another one. Why don't we relive the time when we were confused?" The system didn't persuade her. It couldn't persuade the host if she decided to do something. The next day, the male lead, Peiyu, came with the female lead, Yun Qingxing. "Tangwa, hand over the antidote," Peiyu said. "It won't do you any good to kill Qingxing. If Qingxing dies, you won't be able to live either." Tangwa was stopped at the door of the stone house. Peiyu, Yun Qingxing, and some other people were on their side. They all looked at Tangwa with hatred. These people used to be related to Tangwa, but they didn't know when they had gone to the female lead. "I didn't poison her." Tangwa had a smile on her face. One side of her face was beautiful enough to topple cities, while the other side looked like a ghost. "If it's not you, who else?" "Only you." "Is right's right." "That's right. Qing Fu always let you have your way. You brought this upon yourself." Chapter 1595. She said that I poisoned her. Before the person on the other side could speak, Tangwa tugged at Wen Xiao's clothes. "I don't know what kind of poison it was, but it only acted up after I disappeared for so long." Wen Xiao was stunned, and hesitation appeared on his face. "You really didn't poison Qing Fu?" Tangwa's lips curved into a faint smile. She only said, "So boring. It really is an illusion. It's too unreal." With that, she placed a jade token in Wen Xiao's hand. "I'm leaving." An illusion is an illusion. It can't produce the same result, and it can't wait for the result you hope for. No one can change what has happened. Even if you change everything, you won't be the same person. In this world, there's no such thing as a second chance. Why should you hope for such a thing? I've traveled through many worlds and started to follow my heart. Everything was just because I couldn't calm down. I just wanted a different ending. It's just that I changed other people's paths. Tangwa looked at Wen Xiao's stunned gaze as he stared at the jade token. Her lips curved. Everything in front of her shattered like glass. When she could see everything clearly, she found herself in a different environment. Naturally, her clothes were different. She didn't wait patiently like before. In the end, when she was impatient, she would say, "It's very fake. It's not real. It's too fake. Break it. It's too rigid. It's not real. This illusion needs to be improved." System, what else can I say? If the host likes to play like this, I can only silently accompany her. I hope the host can have a good time playing. No one knew that in a distant space-time, in a bamboo house among the clouds and the mountains, a gentle man dressed in a white robe woke up from his bamboo bed. The child beside him saw that the man's brow was filled with confusion, and his eyes were full of astonishment. He hurriedly went forward and asked, "Young master, what's wrong? Are you worried about Miss Yun?" "Don't worry. Young Master Pei and Miss Yun are very loving. Miss Yun's poison has also been cured, so young master need not worry." When Chao was stunned, he felt as if he had been dreaming for thousands of years. He couldn't remember if it was a dream or if it was now. He couldn't tell the difference between reality and illusion. "I'm not worried about Qingfu." When Chao's mind was still filled with that dream, but before he could finish it, it shattered right before his eyes. Why would he dream of Tanghua, who had been dead for a long time? Especially in his dream, he vaguely remembered that the other party threw him a jade tablet and then disappeared. He searched for her in his dream for a long time, but he could not find her figure. It was as if she had disappeared into thin air. It had been 5 years since her death. Why was he dreaming of her? She was just a heinous person who would do anything to achieve her goals. Why did he feel a little sad? Wait, why does that jade token feel so familiar? Suddenly, when Chao stood up, he remembered the appearance of the jade card and quickly took out the jade card that he wore close to his body. When he looked at the jade card, his eyes turned red. The jade pendant in his dream was exactly the same as this jade pendant. The child only felt a gust of wind blow past him, and when Chao was already gone. "Young master, where are you going?" The child anxiously shouted, but there was no answer. Chapter 1596. When Chao came to the stone house at the foot of the cliff. Next to the stone house was a tomb. In front of the tomb was a wooden tombstone that was almost decaying. On it was clearly written, "Tomb of Tanghua." When Chao stood there for a long time and finally began to dig the tomb, when he saw the rotting bones and lifted up the collar, wasn't there a jade tablet that was exactly the same as is hidden inside? He held the jade token and cried on the spot. His voice was so miserable and sad that the birds in the wilderness did not dare to approach him. "Sister, you must hide this jade token well and wear it with you. Don't lose it. Sister, hide it well and wait for me to come back. If I don't come back, you must take good care of yourself. Remember, don't lose the jade token. In the future, we can use these 2 identical jade tokens to recognize each other. I'll become very strong in the future and won't let you be bullied anymore." When Chao's tears flowed down uncontrollably, he called in a low voice, "Sister." Then, he put away the jade token and began to collect the bones. "I'll take you home. I believe you. You're definitely not that kind of person. I'll find out the truth and prove your innocence." He thought of her in his dream. She said that she was gone without a care, and his heart seemed to be broken. He carefully carried a pile of bones and staggered away. He was no longer as spirited and elegant as before. He was as gentle as jade and full of bleakness and sadness. Why did he think that she was the one who poisoned him without asking about it? Why did he think that she was the one who did those evil things when he didn't see what she did and only listened to Yun Qingya's words? They had been together for more than a month. Didn't he realize what kind of person she was? No, of course he did. He was just blinded by love and could not tell right from wrong for a while. Half a year later, young master Wen Chao massacred the martial arts world and killed countless people. He crippled Yun Qingya and Pei Yu's martial arts, imprisoned them, and whipped them every day. He became the #1 villain in the martial arts world and a complete madman. No one knew why the gentle and elegant young master Wen Chao became like this. Tanghua didn't know what happened in this distant time and space. Even if she knew, she probably wouldn't care too much. "Host, do you want to rest for a while? These illusions are nothing to you. You can break them with a single glance. They're not realistic at all." Tanghua was having a good time. How could she stop? "I didn't expect that I would be so stupid in the past. I really believed in your rubbish system. Host, if you want to recall the past, then so be it. Please, host, please forget about that stupid little Tongzi of the past. Everyone had been foolish before. Wasn't everything fine now? I still don't understand why I would be fooled by a wild system without a serial number." Tanghua felt that this was very strange. Now that she looked at some of the things that happened in the past, She always felt that the unconscious her seemed to have her intelligence sealed by someone. According to her current temperament, the thing she couldn't stand the most was being threatened. This trashy system had actually fooled her for thousands of years. However, her little Tongzi seemed to be even more foolish than her in the past. She didn't know what kind of idiot had set her up to be like that. After breaking the illusion in front of her again, Tangwa looked at the place where she appeared and was a little surprised. This illusion has improved. Chapter 1597. Guagua, don't go. Stay with me, okay? Tangwa was sitting on the hospital bed. Her hand was tightly held by the man on the hospital bed. The man looked at her with a pair of sparkling and affectionate eyes. Guagua, I won't do any biological research in the future. I just want to be by your side. Okay? If you like mathematics, then you can go and study mathematics. I'll accompany you every day. Stay. I'll bring you different flavors of ice cream every day. Whether it's summer or winter, when you want to eat, you only need to call and I'll come to your side immediately. System. Host. This is Weiyu. It's really similar. Not really. Tangwa denied and pulled her hand out of the man on the hospital bed. She said, that guy won't be as greedy as you. He chooses to follow me in every world, but he won't look at me with such a pleading and humble gaze like you, begging me to stay. I do like to eat ice cream because sweet things can make me feel good, but that guy is very stubborn and never allows me to eat ice cream in the middle of winter. If I eat ice cream in the middle of winter, or when I'm not feeling well, he will lose his temper. It will take a long time to coax him. You don't act like it at all. System. Oh, does the host remember it so clearly? It seemed to be like this. When that guy faced the host, he didn't have the original host for many things, as if he had lost himself. But really, the other party only indulged her because he liked her too much. Once she did something to hurt herself, that guy would really get angry and get angry. Oh, right, it was a small temper. The host had to coax him for a long time every time and had to promise that she wouldn't do that again. Only then would he smile again. Well, the Weiyu in this illusion really didn't look like it. Even he couldn't be deceived. How could he become a careful host? Okay, you can get lost now. Tangwa waved her hand and completely ignored the shocked expression of Weiyu on the hospital bed. She turned around and the illusion mirror shattered again. Host, although they are all fake, don't you feel nostalgic when you see these past characters? You don't even pretend. You really don't give face to the city lord of the illusion city. I can't help it. Hasn't that guy been sticking to me every day recently? He wished he could become my big pillow. Such a shameless and thick-skinned person left a deep impression on me. As for the past, too much time has passed, and I can no longer bring those feelings into my mind. I didn't like to think about the past. I just wanted to keep moving forward. The road ahead seemed brighter. Illusions and imaginations were ultimately not real. What could they do if they recalled the past? Futile, futile. The host's heart was as firm as a rock. I'll take that as a compliment. Next, Tangwa saw many familiar characters in the illusion. He had brought her harm, but he had also brought her warmth. Unfortunately, the people in the environment did not act well at all. Although the illusory mirror was created by trying to figure out her inner thoughts, it wasn't that simple. Her inner thoughts were constantly changing, and they were often different. How could an illusion be successfully replicated? There was only one possibility for the illusion mirror to trick people into it. Chapter 1600. The illusory mirror in front of him shattered into pieces and fell to the ground. Wanderer Silvering was a bit disappointed. He had hoped that everything just now was real. If the school bell hadn't come to this world and didn't warn him and Misty about the upcoming calamity, perhaps he really would have fallen into it. He had fallen into the trap, but in fact, he had wanted to fall into the trap himself. Because he had been in the Rubik's Cube world for far too long. He had wandered around for over 1,000 years. Every time he went to the exchange city, he would use up all of his Rubik's Cube coins and obtain countless treasures. Perhaps in the beginning, when he obtained these treasures, He was happy and satisfied. But humans were never satisfied. The once rare treasures were now easily obtained and could no longer be cherished. Material satisfaction, mental emptiness, inner worries, and numb survival in the Rubik's Cube world. Anxiety and loss slowly caused cracks to appear in his heart. The school bell was a miraculous person. Over the years, they had seen many miracles on her body. She seemed to be changing something. She was always able to see through the mysteries of heaven and change the fate of a small space. Her arrival had actually brought hope to him in Piao Miao. The cracks in his heart naturally healed. When he saw his junior sister in the illusory mirror, he wouldn't be too attached to it because he missed her too much. He wouldn't be willing to fall into it and lose his life. Thinking of this, the smile on Wanderer Silvering's face became light. He no longer had the anxiety from before. Whether or not he would leave, when he would leave, as long as he didn't give up, there would be a day when he would leave. He and Misty were cultivators. The path of cultivation was long and needed to progress step by step. If they rushed forward blindly, there wouldn't be any good results. Silvering, your heart has broken through. Misty Fairy's voice rang out. Wanderer Silvering only felt a flash in front of him. The woman sitting across from him was none other than Misty Fairy. He saw that Misty Fairy was the same as him. Her elegant and otherworldly face also had a smile like a spring breeze. There wasn't the slightest bit of anxiety from before. You've also broken through. Misty Fairy lightly nodded with a smile in her eyes. Our strength was suppressed by the Rubik's Cube world. If we want to improve, we have to leave the Rubik's Cube world. Actually, we have all walked into the wrong path. If our strength can't improve, why don't we find another way to improve our heart? Master once said that having a higher heart than cultivation has great benefits. If your cultivation is higher than your heart, it will cause your foundation to be unstable. If your heart is higher than your cultivation, you can truly do whatever you want. Wanderer Silvering also smiled and nodded. Of the reason why the stronger you are, the easier it is because the more you arse Rubik's, the easier it is to get lost in the illusory mirror. Is. The ours SSS. SSS. Is. T. So let's take it slow. T, you're right. 1,000 years have already changed the world. There's no point in being anxious. In Huan, when we get out of here, I plan to buy hundreds and thousands of little dresses. The school bell should still have that kind of jewelry, right? I want to buy it. The ever-changing style of the silver hoop made him somewhat unaccustomed to it. Chapter 1601. Misty, I'm afraid that kid will come in a while. Let's pretend to be trapped in the illusion and show a painful expression. Let's see what he will do later. We'll find a chance to teach him a lesson. Silver Ring's eyes shone. With that mysterious person helping him, it won't be easy to take his life. But now that our state of mind has been completely restored and even improved greatly, the illusion is useless to us. Why don't we use this place to teach him a lesson? Okay, Misty smiled. When we leave the illusion mirror city, we'll have to thank the school bell for coming. That's for sure. The two looked at each other and smiled, then closed their eyes again. The originally calm expression became confused and painful at the same time. Looking from afar, it seemed that they were really trapped in the environment and couldn't extricate themselves. Enrich and his sister were also trapped in various illusions. The illusions they encountered were similar. They were all tempted by all kinds of treasures and magic cube coins. Although the two liked treasures and magic cube coins, they cared more about their lives. Every time, it was very painful to refuse. The temptation in front of them couldn't penetrate their hearts in the illusion. So many magic cube coins, I can't bear to part with them. Yin Xiaofei refused the pursuit of the richest man in the country and the magic cube coins with countless zeros. She clutched her heart and couldn't bear it. This illusion is specially made to torture me, right? Zhang Lu had already arrived at the city lord of the illusion mirror city, Xiayun. He happened to hear Yin Xiaofei's nagging and almost fell down. I wonder if the world's richest man will appear in the next illusion. Can I agree to spend his money first and then come out? Hearing Yin Xiaofei's muttering, Zhang Li's face muscles twitched uncontrollably. Magic cube coins, magic cube coins. Her head was full of magic cube coins. How could there be such a vulgar woman in the world? She didn't even try to hide it. As for Enrich, it was naturally a beautiful woman. Even if his family background was good in reality, for men, these were eternal temptations. In the illusion mirror, he met all kinds of beautiful women. When the other party invited him to dance, he didn't refuse. When he was about to take the last step, he, like In Xiaofei, clutched his heart and refused painfully. Miss, I'm not the kind of person who is frivolous. We haven't known each other for long. How could I do such a shameless thing to you? Miss, although you're very beautiful, and I know that I'm very charming, you shouldn't belittle yourself like this. Quickly put on your clothes. I'm a strong-willed person, and I'll never do anything that goes against my principles. The two siblings had both accepted the temptation of a beautiful woman and a domineering CEO in the illusion. They had to reluctantly reject them, and it was indescribable how uncomfortable they felt. Ying Xue was more determined than the other two. Di Qinming was the one who appeared the most in the illusion mirror. The Di Qinming in the illusion mirror always had all kinds of bad things. She had always maintained her trust and did not have the slightest bit of suspicion. Therefore, she looked more relaxed. With the help of the mysterious soul, Di Qinming quickly regained consciousness. He wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. His back was drenched. Thanks to you. Humph. Now you know how dangerous the illusion realm is, right? All right, since you've already woken up, let's go find those two cultivators and get rid of them first. Silverhoop said, Piao Miao, why don't we spit out a mouthful of blood for him to see? If he doesn't do anything, we can't jump up suddenly, right? That's right. Come, Silverhoop, let's vomit blood for him. As Di Qinming waited patiently, Wanderer Silver Ring and Fairy Piao Miao simultaneously coughed up a mouthful of blood, their faces instantly turning pale. Nows of the Rubiks, the mysterious voice of heaven's Azazas. Ovt. Seeing that the knife was about to stab into the dantians of the trio, the mysterious voice had told him that to kill immortal cultivators, one had to first destroy their dantians. The dantian was the source of their strength. If the dantian was destroyed, the cultivator would be almost crippled. Chapter 1603. Originally, he thought it would be easy. After all, Wanderer Silver Ring was already deep in the illusion. Unexpectedly, just as he was about to stab him, Wanderer Silver Ring shouted angrily, Thief, you dare to steal my junior sister? See if I don't kill you. Before Di Qinming could react, Wanderer Silver Ring flipped over and stood up. Even though his eyes were closed, the cold light from the sword that suddenly appeared in his hand made Di Qinming's scalp tingle. Wanderer Silver Ring sneered in his heart and slashed at Di Qinming. He didn't show any mercy at all. When he saw Di Qinming's arm, if he hadn't dodged quickly, that sword would have cut off half of his arm. Di Qinming's face turned cold. What's going on? Didn't you say it would be easy? He's a cultivator after all. Most likely, he encountered something that made him angry in the environment. Be quick and lead him to Fairy Piao Miao. Provoke a fight between the two of them and then watch from the sidelines. Di Qinming took a deep breath. He felt that this was the only way. He agilely moved towards Fairy Piao Miao. Fairy Piao Miao looked at his movements and thought to herself, good timing. I was just worried that I wouldn't have a chance to properly deal with this brat. Di Qinming's goal was to lead Wanderer Silver Ring to Fairy Piao Miao and provoke a fight between the two of them. When both of them were injured, he would reap the benefits. However, he didn't expect that just as he arrived in front of Fairy Piao Miao, she spun around and ruthlessly kicked him in the chest. She didn't show any mercy at all. At that time, he only felt that his organs were in extreme pain and he spat out large mouthfuls of blood. This wasn't the end. He heard Fairy Piao Miao say, Thief, return my junior sister's life. Then, Fairy Piao Miao charged towards him with her sword. The sword was about to stab him in the heart. He was kicked and his entire body was in pain. He could only clench his teeth and drag his body to the side. Fairy Piao Miao's sword naturally missed, but it still pierced deeply into his arm. Thief, return my junior sister. If I don't destroy your soul today, I won't be Piao Miao. Di Chunming's face was filled with pain, but his heart was heavy. He quickly dodged while communicating with the soul. What's going on? Didn't you say that it would be easy to kill them? Cultivators are indeed extraordinary. Even in the illusion, you can't deal with them. Forget it. Let's retreat. They must have encountered something that angered both humans and gods in the illusion mirror. Now that they are angry, they treat you as their enemy. Retreat? It was easy for him to say, but the two of them chased after him and attacked him fiercely. How could he retreat? Misty, there are still over 20 days left. Let's slowly play eagle-catching chicken with him. Anyway, we definitely won't be able to kill him. The school bell's intention is to let him live until the end to lure out the people behind him. All right, then I won't hurt his vitals. Let him escape and think that we can't kill him. Following that, Di Chunming began his journey of escape. It was extremely miserable. Tanghua was almost done playing in the illusion mirror. She went to Xie Yun and saw that everyone was watching the situation in the illusion mirror, especially when she saw Fairy Piao Miao and Wanderer Yin Huan chasing after Di Chunming with their swords. She almost laughed to death. Tanghua, I heard that you and Gong Wei are together? Xie Yun still couldn't accept that his good brother Gong Wei was taken down by this woman. Although this woman was the #1 beauty in the Rubik's Cube, everyone knew that the more beautiful a woman was, the more dangerous she was. They all tried their best to avoid this woman. Chapter 1604. Do you have any objections? Tanghua raised her eyebrows and asked with a smile. Xie Yun muttered, I don't have any objections. I'm just curious, how did you deal with that guy Gong Wei? Just a while ago, he even said that if you broke my illusion mirror, he would compensate. Did this look like something Gong Wei would say? He was so unprincipled. What happened to being cold, heartless, and impartial? Have you ever been in love? Tanghua asked. Xie Yun shook his head honestly and rubbed his fiery red hair. No. How would someone who has never been in love know the beauty of being in love? When you fall in love with someone, you will know why Gong Wei is like this. Xie Yun glanced at Gong Wei from the corner of his eyes. Seeing that he agreed, he really didn't have any temper. He said that he would marry you in the future and bring the dowry to your city of trade. Tanghua's lips curled up and said, Are you envious? Bah, only a ghost would be envious. Xie Yun said in annoyance. Why aren't you the one marrying over? Since ancient times, hasn't it always been men and women who marry? Where did the rules come from? Isn't there still marrying into the family? Tanghua said, I am rich in the city of trade. Gong Wei is willing to live a good life with me because he is smart. He likes to be with me and doesn't care about the eyes of narrow-minded people like you. Gong Wei was already standing beside Tanghua and said with a straight face, You have learned the rules outside. When we get married, remember to follow the rules. Xie Yun, bah, Zhonglu, hee, what does it have to do with him? Isn't he just here to watch the show? The customs of the outside world had nothing to do with them. They weren't outsiders. My illusion mirror city has never been so lively. Xie Yun said faintly, You all gathered in my illusion mirror city. Are you really here to play? Tanghua briefly explained the matter, and Xie Yun's expression also became serious. I felt that this kid was a little strange before. So there is someone behind him, and it is a danger hidden in our Rubik's Cube world. No wonder he was able to walk out of the illusory mirror all of a sudden. Xie Yun rubbed his chin and narrowed his eyes as he watched Di Chunming continue to flee from the pursuit of Misty and Misty. He sank into deep thought. Where did that person come from? Why couldn't we find him even with our abilities? Xie Yun didn't suspect that Tanghua was lying. This was related to the safety of the Magic Cube world. They were spiritual beings bred by the Magic Cube world. Once the Magic Cube world was destroyed, they would also be destroyed. No one would joke about this. I don't know about that. Tanghua really didn't know. The original owner left too little information. She even suspected that the mysterious soul was not the last to appear. By the way, Didn't you two come from Happiness City? Xieyun suddenly asked, Why didn't Gulin come with you? Gongwei replied, I called him, but there was no response. His aura is under the happiness tree. He should be asleep. That guy, he sleeps every day. I think the next Happiness City Lord will be born, and he will step down from the position of City Lord in his sleep. Zhang Li yawned and said, If I lived in such a comfortable place, I would also sleep every day. Tangwa didn't say anything. Her gaze was always on Di Chanming. Her mind was recalling all the plots of this world. Chapter 1605. But the information she got was still very little. Regarding this world's male lead Di Chunming, the other party's inner thoughts were very little, almost none. The time when he shone the brightest was when he stabbed the original owner. Without her help, Di Chunming naturally couldn't hide his strength and bide his time. He had to hide under her light and slowly grow. But she still felt that something was wrong. The artifact dagger, a dagger specially used to deal with spirit creatures in the Rubik's Cube world. If it pierced her heart, it would instantly kill her. Also, the lives of the 6 city lords were connected to the entire Rubik's Cube world. This secret, other than the 6 city lords, no one else should know. Regarding their own lives, no one would discuss it with others. As long as they were killed, they could destroy the Rubik's Cube world. So, how did that mysterious soul know about this? The other party's origin was undoubtedly an outsider. From Di Chinming's cultivation method, it could be seen that the other party should be cultivating an evil demonic cultivation method. Xiaogua, what are you thinking about? Gong Wei was the first to notice that Tangwa's expression was strange. Tangwa paused and said, I'm thinking about how that mysterious soul knew the weakness of the Rubik's Cube world. Would you casually tell this weakness to others? Of course not. Gong Wei said. Of course not. Xie Yun and Zhang Lu both nodded, indicating that they weren't so stupid. How could they share this with others? Since they were born, they knew that they were closely related to the Rubik's Cube world. This secret was almost rotting in their hearts. No one mentioned it. Then who told him? Tangwa's voice floated out, making the few people present a little creepy. Yes, who was it? There were only 6 city lords in the Rubik's Cube world. If there was no one else, it could only be one of the 6 people who leaked the secret. But it didn't make sense. The survival of the Rubik's Cube world was closely related to their lives. No one should be so stupid to expose their weakness. Have you ever gone out of the city to play? Tangwa suddenly asked. Xie Yun, with his red hair, quickly shook his head. There are monsters outside. Although they can't threaten us, those monsters look disgusting. Their saliva is disgusting, their blood is disgusting, and their behavior is disgusting. Who would go to that place to play? You've been there before? Gong Wei's heart stirred as he asked. Tangwa shook her head. No, Xie Yun is right. Everything looks disgusting. I only go out to play when I'm full. Then why are you asking this? Zhang Lu asked curiously. He always felt that Tangwa wouldn't ask this for no reason. Tangwa pursed her lips and a toy Rubik's Cube appeared in her hands. This is the Rubik's Cube. I know this is the Rubik's Cube, Xieyan said, but this is a toy Rubik's Cube. Chapter 1606. Don't they have a good saying, be prepared for danger in times of peace? Xie Yun said with a smile. Even if it's an ordinary, insignificant human being, they can still use their own wisdom to ascend to the heavens. Perhaps one day, they will really open fire and blow up our Rubik's Cube world. Shouldn't we guard against these little clever ghosts? System. Aren't you also a little clever ghost? By the way, is there really a problem between us? Zhang Le frowned and stopped shaking his legs. Tangwa gently glanced at them. Now that we have 4 people here, I can be sure that there is no problem. How could there be a problem with me? Xie Yun quickly said. Zhang Lu also eagerly said, I'm not a fool. If I harm the Rubik's Cube world, it won't do me any good. So there are only 2 people left, Gongwei said, but we can't be sure that there is a problem with them. There may be a problem with other places. We need to see them to know. Xieyun's eyes fell on the Rubik's Cube in Tangwa's hand. You took this thing out. What do you want to say? Tangwa raised the Rubik's Cube in her hand. At this time, the order of the colors was not disrupted. She pointed to it and said, "This Rubik's Cube has 6 sides. Each side has a different color. The order is white on the top, yellow on the bottom, green on the left, blue on the right, red on the front, orange on the back. Why is it that in each of our cities, only the city is the safest, and the other places are full of danger, with all kinds of monsters appearing?" Without waiting for them to ask, Tangwa continued, "Actually, I don't know, but let me make an analogy. According to our current rotation, the safest place is the small grid in the middle of each side. This small grid represents our 6 cities." Then, Xieyun was a bit confused. What does this mean? This means that the traitor has appeared among the 6 of us. What if it's not the small grid in the middle? Zhanglu continued to ask. Tangwa shook her head. No, according to the rules of the Rubik's Cube world, this is the only possibility. Why? I think that the outsider themselves have not moved, but the Rubik's Cube cities. Think about it, only the middle place is safe. Even if the 6 cities constantly move to the middle position, the Rubik's Cube world is still different from the Rubik's Cube toy. Then why is it that only the small square in the middle can survive, and the outside of the city is filled with ferocious monsters? These monsters, what do they have to do with the Rubik's Cube world? Xieyun and Zhang Li's cube world were both confused of the Rubik, they never. Rubik's of, ways of the Rubik of the Rubik TS, this person's Rubik's way. Rubik. Way. TTTT, Gong Wei said at this time. The city lord of the magic cube world would retire at a certain time, but some cases would be recorded. For example, if someone went out, they would remember it clearly. Tangwa nodded. Yes, that's what I was about to say. This proves one thing. Seeing that the 3 of them were full of curiosity, she continued, those monsters are not born from the Rubik's Cube world. When the Rubik's Cube world is destroyed, the monsters will be like the outsider. They will be free and happily leave this world. They will go to various places to cause trouble and eat people. As soon as her words fell, Zhang Lu and Xieyun were shocked. If this was the case, then the person who wanted to destroy the Rubik's Cube world wanted to let these monsters out? We can't detect that mysterious soul. Do you think that the place he is really hiding is where these monsters are? After all, we can only control our own city. What does he want to do? Zhang Lu almost lost his voice. The monsters at the city gate were not terrible because of the suppression of the Rubik's Cube world. Without the suppression of the Rubik's Cube world, those monsters could easily swallow the people of a city. Chapter 1607. What does he want to do? You have to ask him. According to the current analysis, his first goal is to destroy the Rubik's Cube world. He's not from the Rubik's Cube world. Destroying the Rubik's Cube world is naturally beneficial to him. As for the rest, I don't know. Tangwa said it casually, but the expressions of the people listening were very serious. Then who do you think leaked the secret? Xieyun asked. If we know who leaked the secret, then it's simple. Tangwa shook her head. Is it simple? Even if we know, what can we do to him? This question stumped a few of them. Yes, even if they caught him, what could they do to him? I actually don't understand. We're all from the Rubik's Cube world. His survival is closely related to him. Why would he expose his weakness? Zhang Lu was puzzled. If the Rubik's Cube world is destroyed, as the city lord, won't he die too? Unless... Zhang Li's eyes lit up and continued. The other party has found a way to leave the Rubik's Cube world. The few of them looked at each other. If that was the case, it would be bad. Xieyun scratched his fiery red afro. Then is it Happiness City's Gu Lin or Death City's Junming who leaked the secret? No matter who it is, we can't expose ourselves. Wait in the dark and wait for the opportunity to make a move. Wait for the other party to reveal their true colors. Gongwei reminded. Originally, he thought that it was only the mysterious soul and Di Chenming who had problems. Now, things seem to be more complicated. The people in the illusion mirror city only felt that time was infinitely long. The others who fell into the illusion and didn't know it were better. The person who suffered the most was Di Chanming. His current situation was that he tried to steal a chicken only to end up losing the rice used to lure it. Originally, he planned to kill Piao Miao and Junming, but he didn't expect to meet an immortal cultivator. He didn't know if he saw someone who had a blood feud with them in the illusion mirror. That day, before he could step forward, he was chased by these two people. If he didn't have some skills, plus the help of the mysterious person, and the fact that these two people were in the illusion mirror, he would have lost his life long ago. Di Chenming, who had fled in a sorry state for a month, and whose clothes had been chopped until they were tattered and covered in countless bloody wounds, did not know that all of this had been discussed by Fairy Piao Miao and Fairy Piao Miao. Even if he couldn't kill him, he had to make this 1 month unforgettable for him. Therefore, on the last day of the month, all the illusions in the illusion mirror city disappeared. Fairy Piao Miao and Wanderer Silver Ring suddenly opened their eyes and looked at the long swords in their hands. Both of them felt strange. In the end, they muttered a few words and put away their long swords. They looked around and turned to leave. Di Chenming, who didn't feel anyone chasing after him, let out a sigh of relief. The surrounding fog had also dissipated, and he was now on a wide platform. There were still many people around. The Yin siblings and Di Yingxue quickly found him in a sorry state. After a round of greetings, Tanghua, Gongwei, and Zhonglu also appeared. I met 2 lunatics in the illusion. They kept chasing after me. I don't know what happened, but I woke up like this. Di Chenming could only explain like this. He couldn't say that he was so miserable because he wanted to kill Fairy Piao Miao and Wanderer Silver Ring, right? Fairy Piao Miao said with a smile, "Young man, are you afraid of this place? Is that why the people who wanted to kill you appeared in the illusion mirror?" Di Chenming, what the hell is fear? Chapter 1608. There are more dangerous places to go. Young man, you can't have this mentality. Wanderer Yanhuan also walked up from behind and patted Di Chenming's shoulder, comforting him. You will understand in the future that the Rubik's Cube world is full of dangers. Don't be so stressed. The next time you come to the illusion mirror city, it will be much easier. It was clearly these 2 lunatics who were chasing after him, but now they were comforting him with a smile, saying that his endurance was too poor. Di Chenming was really about to die of anger. That mysterious soul was actually a little annoyed. These 2 cultivators were really more difficult to deal with than he had imagined. If he couldn't deal with them in the illusion mirror city, then he couldn't deal with them in other places. Vaguely, he also felt that all the breakthroughs of these 2 people were mostly vented in the illusion mirror, causing the cracked state of mind to be repaired again. When the fog completely dispersed, the people standing on the flat ground were all awakened by a cold wind. When they looked around, they saw that nearly half of the people were still sitting on the ground with their heads buried, motionless and silent. They felt a chill down their backs. What's wrong with these people? Yin Xiaofei asked subconsciously. Tanghua was right beside her and replied in a low voice, "Dead?" Yin Xiaofei felt her whole body turn cold. Dead? If she indulged in the pursuit of all kinds of tall, rich, and handsome men in the illusion mirror, would she also die in the illusion mirror like these people? What, are you scared? Zhonglu said with a smile. I didn't expect that a person like you could actually walk out of the illusion mirror. It really makes people look at you in a different light. Yin Xiaofei's original fear dissipated when she heard Zhang Li's words. Instead, she stared at Zhonglu angrily. If you don't know how to speak, then shut up. Although she was very reluctant to part with the tall, rich, handsome, and perfect man in the illusion mirror. But she knew very well that there was nothing so good and inexplicable in the world. She wasn't Tanghua. Her luck wasn't that good. Those things were just dreams. She couldn't take them seriously. As the 2 bickered, the sun slowly set in the fear of many people present. The sky became dark. Just like before, the Rubik's Cube world was rotating. When they could see everything in front of them clearly, the aura of death rushed towards them. Yin Xiaofei screamed and subconsciously leaned towards the person beside her, hugging him tightly. Brother, brother, skeletons, so many skeletons. It's so scary, so scared. Girl, since you call me brother, I'll let you hug me. This time, Zhang didn't push Yin Xiaofei away. However, this was his first time being hugged so intimately by a girl. Seeing her pale face, he felt really embarrassed and pushed her away. Yin Xiaofei came back to her senses and turned her head to look. She realized that the person she was hugging was not her brother, but Zhang Lu. Xiaofei, Xiaofei's, Xiaofei Xiaofei's, Xiaofei Xiaofei, Xiaofei Xiaofei's, Xiaofei, 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 Xiaoman, Xiaofei Xiaofei's, of Xiaofei T's, Xiaofei, S, TTT, S, Xiaofei Xiao, S's, TTT, SSS, Xiao S's, S, Xiao SSS, Xiao. He estimated that if it weren't for the many human bones on the ground, Yin Xiaofei would have collapsed. Chapter 1609. He walked in front of Yin Xiaofei. They're all people who have been dead for who knows how many years. They're not that scary. Yin Xiaofei was so scared that her eyes were red. Zhang Lu hugged her waist. For Tangwa's sake, I'll bring you along this time. Yin Xiaofei didn't struggle. This place was really gloomy and there were human bones everywhere. It was too scary. Zhang Lu hugged her waist and she hugged Zhang Li's arm. For the first time, she felt that this man wasn't so detestable. The human bones on the ground aren't scary. What's scary is that they can stand up, Zhang Lu said slowly. As he said that, he suddenly felt Yin Xiaofei stop talking. Her body stiffened as she looked in a certain direction. Her voice trembled as she said, "Are you talking about those who can stand up?" Zhang Lu looked over and saw a pile of skeletons walking over. He replied, "Yes, Zhang Lu, you're actually a pretty good person." Yin Xiaofei hugged Zhang Lu tightly, afraid that he would leave her alone. Zhang Lu was amused. "I'm a good person. You're so sweet. Are you afraid that I'll leave you behind?" Yin Xiaofei wanted to talk back, but she thought that she was scared. "You called that person brother just now. It was very nice. Call me that again, and I'll protect you in this city." Yin Xiaofei cursed Zhang Lu in her heart for a while. She said honestly, "Brother, I'll have to trouble you from now on." "Sure." Zhang Lu was very straightforward. When he hugged Yin Xiaofei's waist, he felt a little strange. He tasted it carefully. So this was the feeling of hugging a girl. In a corner of the Death City, there was a woman wearing a gorgeous dress and high heels, standing on a pile of human bones. She wasn't as scared as the others. Her expression was calm, and she held an exquisite wooden fan in her hand. She was sitting and looking around. "Dear host, is there something wrong?" Tangwa retracted her gaze and said, "Gongwei actually got separated from me. This doesn't make sense." "So, did something go wrong?" While she was puzzled, she heard slow footsteps not far away. Not long after, a man wearing a black windbreaker and leather boots appeared in her field of vision. The man's body was cold, his face was stiff, and his skin was pale. He didn't look like a living person. "Junming?" Tangwa looked at the man's face and said, "You're so free?" At first, Junming didn't say anything. It was only when he walked up to her that the coldness in his eyes dissipated a little, that he finally opened his mouth. "Since I know you're here, I have to be free no matter how busy I am." Host, admirer. The system's curiosity was piqued. This admirer of hers didn't seem to be ordinary. It wondered what Gongwei's expression would be if he knew about it. He was looking forward to it. "So, Gongwei didn't follow me because you were the one behind it?" Tangwa smiled and asked, "You are the city lord of the Death City. This is the first time I've seen you treat your guests like this. What's wrong with you and Gongwei?" Junming didn't mind Tangwa's sarcasm. What he was concerned about was that the two of them came out of his city hand in hand. Thus, he couldn't help but to use some tricks to separate them. He was the city lord of the Death City, the person with the greatest authority in the Death City. Before the two of them could react, it was easy for him to use some tricks. "Didn't you see it?" Tangwa didn't hide anything. She and Gongwei were open and above board. There was no need to hide anything. Ever since I came to look for you, I have always felt that I am not worthy of you, because the city of trade is bustling with life. In the city of death, other than dead people, there are only dead people. And because you weren't with anyone, I thought we could continue. I just didn't expect it. This time, she actually came hand in hand with Gong Wei, and they looked very intimate. Junming still wanted to say something, but Gong Wei had already appeared. When he saw Junming by Tanggua's side, he felt that something was wrong. He instantly appeared in front of Tanggua and gently protected her in his arms. Junming's expression almost turned sinister. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.